All right, so today we're diving deep into something I think a lot of us are curious about. How to make marriages actually work. And wow, did you guys send in some fascinating stuff for us to dig into. We've got excerpts from the 7 principles for making marriage work. We're talking decades of research from John Gottman here. Get ready to have some assumptions challenged.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating blend of real couple stories plus, hard data. Gottman's not just giving advice, he's showing you what actually predicts, lasting relationships based on his research.
The thing is, we all know communication is important, right? But the source says a lot of couples in trouble go to therapy specifically for that, and only 35% see any improvement. What's going on there?
That's where Gottman kind of flips the script. His research shows it's not just about how you fight, it's more about what's happening when you're not fighting. That foundation matters way more.
Okay, so hold up. That's kind of counterintuitive. You're saying even if we get good at arguing fairly, that might not be enough.
Right. Think of it like this. Imagine a house built on shaky ground. Even if you fix the leaky roof, it's still vulnerable, right? Gottman's saying the relationship itself needs to be strong first.
So what are we missing then? The source dives right into myth busting. I was surprised to learn that just sharing hobbies doesn't guarantee success.
Yeah, that's a trap a lot of couples fall into. It's like, oh, we both love kayaking. We're meant to be. But the book gives this great example of 2 kayaking couples. One uses it to connect and have fun. The other ends up bickering the whole time. Same hobby, totally different outcomes.
So it's the quality of the interaction that matters, not just finding something you both enjoy.
Exactly. It's like you could be at the most amazing concert in the world. But if you're sitting next to someone who's grumpy and complaining, you're not going to have a good time, right?
Yeah.
It's about how you experience things together.
And get this, the keeping score thing totally backfires. The book says happy couples aren't tallying up, who did what, nice thing last.
Right? That tit-for-tat approach. It just erodes trust. You start feeling resentful, like you're owed something. Happy couples operate from a place of genuine generosity. It's not transactional.
That makes me think of those couples who constantly compare, who does more chores. It's like they're in a competition instead of being a team.
Exactly. It creates this power dynamic that's not healthy for a loving relationship. You're not striving for equality. You're striving for connection.
This is blowing my mind. Another myth busted. That whole men are from Mars thing. The source is pretty clear. Friendship is the bedrock no matter your gender.
Yeah, think about it. Your best friend is probably someone you respect, enjoy spending time with, and genuinely, as a person, right? That's the kind of foundation that can withstand disagreements. Life changes all of it.
Okay, that's making more sense now. But how do we build that kind of friendship with our romantic partner? The source dives into this concept called love maps.
This is where it gets really interesting. Love maps are basically your mental map of your partner's world. Their fears, dreams, favorite things, pet peeves. The stuff that makes them tick.
Like knowing their go-to comfort food after a bad day. Or that annoying coworker they always complain about, that level of detail.
Yeah, and it's not just about memorizing facts, though. It's about being curious about your partner, actively trying to understand their inner world. The book shares this story about a couple, Maggie and Ken. They faced a huge life change having a baby and navigated it really well because of their strong love map. They knew how to support each other through the stress.
So it's like the better your love maps are, the more equipped you are to handle those inevitable bumps in the road.
Exactly. When you understand your partner on a deeper level, you can anticipate their needs, offer support in the right way, and just generally navigate life together more smoothly. It's like having a secret weapon for your relationship.
This is so cool, but let's be real for a second. Even with the best love maps, disagreements are bound to happen, right? How does Gottman say we should handle those?
Well, he breaks it down into 2 types of conflict, solvable and perpetual. And honestly, this is a game changer for a lot of couples.
Solvable versus perpetual. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So solvable problems are those kind of surface level things, who does the dishes, what to watch on TV, that kind of stuff. But perpetual problems.
Yeah.
Those come from deeper differences.
Yeah.
In your values or personalities. Those are the ones that tend to keep popping up.
Oh, I see. So if one partner is super tidy and the other's more laid back, that could cause endless clashes.
Exactly. It's not that one person's right and the other's wrong. It's just that they have fundamentally different ways of approaching life. And trying to fix that difference is often what leads to more conflict.
So what do we do then? Just accept that some things will never change?
Well, it's not about resigning yourself to a life of arguments. It's about shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
With solvable problems, Gottman gives very specific steps for tackling them effectively.
Yeah.
And even with those perpetual issues, there are ways to manage them so they don't take over your relationship.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the magic formula for those solvable problems?
Well, the key is to start softly. You know how sometimes we launch into complaints with all guns blazing, like you always do this, you never do that? That just puts the other person on the defensive immediately.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged. So what's the alternative?
Instead of blaming, focus on how you feel. Like, I feel stressed when the kitchen's messy.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to hear than, you're such a slob.
Right. It's like that whole I feel versus you are approach. But honestly, sometimes it's hard to remember that in the heat of the moment.
That's why it's so important to practice these skills outside of conflict. And remember, politeness goes a long way. Could you please? I'd appreciate it if. Those magic words can de-escalate tension so quickly.
It's about treating your partner with the same respect you'd show anyone else, even when you're annoyed. It's so easy to forget that.
And then there's this concept of repair attempts. These are crucial. They're like those little moments where you try to de-escalate things before they get out of control. It could be a joke, a touch, even just saying like, hey, I need a break. Let's talk about this later.
I love that. It's like having a safety valve for when things get too heated.
Exactly. Couples who are good at repair attempts, they don't let those small disagreements spiral into huge blowouts. They know how to hit the pause button and come back to it later when they're both calmer.
That makes so much sense. But what about those deeper issues, those perpetual problems? Is it really possible to just agree to disagree and still have a happy relationship?
That's where Gottman's idea of honoring each other's dreams comes in. It's recognizing that your partner might have passions and goals
Mm.
that don't perfectly align with yours.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Wait, so it's not about trying to mold them into your ideal partner.
It's about appreciating them for who they are, even if that means they sometimes want to do things you don't. It's about finding a way to support their dreams, even if you don't share them.
This sounds like a radical shift in thinking. How do you even begin to do that?
It starts with understanding. Why is this dream so important to your partner? What needs does it fulfill for them? Once you understand that, it becomes easier to find ways to support them, even if it means making compromises.
So it's not about giving up your own needs. It's about finding creative ways to honor both.
Exactly. And sometimes it's as simple as showing genuine interest. Listen when they talk about their passions. Ask questions. Let them know you're on their team, even if you don't want to join them on every adventure.
That makes sense. But what about when those differences lead to conflict? The source mentions this thing called gridlock, which sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, gridlock happens when a perpetual problem becomes this recurring source of tension. It's like hitting a wall over and over again, and neither of you can budge. But here's the thing. Gottman says it's not about solving these problems.
Hold up, I'm confused. If we're not trying to solve them, what are we supposed to do?
It's about finding ways to live with them, to manage them, so they don't take over your relationship. And a big part of that is finding the humor in it all.
Finding humor in the middle of a fight. That sounds kind of impossible.
Hear me out. It's not about making light of the issue itself. It's about finding a way to connect with your partner. Even in the midst of disagreement, imagine like two puzzle pieces that don't quite fit, but are essential to the bigger picture. It's about appreciating their unique shapes, not forcing them together.
So instead of getting stuck in the same argument over and over, we can find a way to laugh about it together. That sounds surprisingly liberating.
It's about choosing love over being right. It's about recognizing that your partner isn't trying to be difficult. They're just being themselves. And sometimes the best way to navigate those differences is with a little bit of humor and a whole lot of grace.
Okay, that's a perspective I hadn't considered before. This whole idea of not needing to fix everything is really resonating with me.
It's a game changer for a lot of couples. When you let go of the need to be right, you open up space for understanding, empathy, and even deeper connection.
So we've talked about handling those everyday disagreements and even those deeper clashes. But what about the bigger picture? The source talks about creating shared meaning as a couple.
This is where we move beyond just surviving conflict and
Yeah.
into thriving as a couple. It's about building a life together that feels meaningful and purposeful.
Okay, I'm all for that. But what does it actually look like?
Well, it can take many forms. It could be about shared values, spiritual beliefs, a joint commitment to a cause you both believe in,
So it could be like big life-changing stuff, but
Yeah.
also the smaller things, right? Like my partner and I have this tradition. We try a new restaurant every month. It's become our thing. It gives us something to like look forward to together.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be grand gestures. It's those little rituals, those inside jokes, those moments that make you feel like you're part of something special. That's what builds shared meaning.
And it kind of reminds you why you chose this person in the first place. Like you're creating this whole world together, separate from the everyday chaos.
And that shared world becomes a source of strength and comfort, especially when life throws you curveballs. It's a reminder that you're not alone. You've got this person by your side who gets you, who shares your values, who's building this life with you.
It's so much more than just like being roommates or co-parents. It's about creating something bigger than yourselves.
And it doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing process,
Mhm.
a conscious choice to nurture that connection and create those shared experiences.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the importance of friendship to navigating conflict and creating shared meaning. It seems like happy marriages are less about avoiding problems and more about having the right tools to deal with them.
Yeah, it's about building a strong foundation so that when those storms inevitably hit,
Yeah.
you're able to weather them together.
This whole deep dive has been such an eye-opener. What stood out to you the most?
Honestly,
Hmm.
I think what's most powerful about Gottman's work is that it's based on hope. It shows us that even if our relationship's struggling, there are very concrete things we can do to improve it. It's never too late to start building those love maps, practicing those repair attempts, or finding ways to create shared meaning.
That's so reassuring. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to put in the effort.
Exactly. Relationships take work, but the rewards are so worth it.
And it's not just about romantic relationships either, right? Like, we can apply these principles to our friendships, family relationships, even our work relationships.
Absolutely. Think about it. How much stronger would our communities be if we all focused on understanding each other better, communicating more effectively,
Yeah.
and building those bridges of connection?
Wow, that's a powerful thought. So, what's one small thing you, our listener, could do today to strengthen a relationship that matters to you? Maybe it's sending a thoughtful text, initiating a conversation about something important, or just expressing your appreciation for someone.
It's about taking that first step, however small it might seem, because those small moments of connection, those little acts of kindness, they add up to something truly extraordinary.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of relationships. We've just scratched the surface of Gottman's 7 principles, but hopefully you've gained some valuable insights and a renewed sense of hope.
Remember, every relationship has its challenges, but with effort, intention, and a willingness to learn and grow, love can truly thrive.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, maybe even dive into the book itself. And remember, the journey to deeper, more fulfilling relationships starts with a single step.